wait for you in chat to start spamming start the game, and once we hit a certain threshold, only then do we release the goods and start the game.
I think it's something like 50,000, 60,000 chat messages start the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this, I beg you, pretty please, make sure that you spam your energy by saying start the game every single time the game doesn't start when you want it to. Everybody loves it when you do that. Please do it.
Exactly. Thank you, Parker, for saying everything that we're thinking. Now, we've got the bans done here for both teams. This TSM will get rid of Wamai. And with that ban phase finalized, Clubhouse is looking pretty normal. Thatcher's in play, which is a little bit different. Capitão needed to be banned, though. He's proven himself to be a really annoying operator for the defenders on this map, time and time again. So that's a key ban specifically for Clubhouse. But with Thatcher still in play, most of the hard breach will still work. So they don't have to overcommit to that role. As you can see, at least right now, for example, there is no ace being wrought. They're going to stick with the Thermite Habana. That might change in the 6th pick, but I doubt it.
TSM, interestingly enough, is going to be starting on defense on every single map. So for those of you that are watching, Villa is next if needed. And Villa's stats have been very interesting recently, with attackers having more of a fighting chance than previously. Villa is still, like most maps, very favorable for the defense. There isn't outside of Coastline, there really isn't a map that you expect the attackers to do really, really well on. And I mean, even if you look at that Coastline matchup, the attackers only won 4 of the 11 rounds, so it was still a very defender-sided affair. First half was a split, and then SSG ran it up on defense.
10 seconds to go.
In regards to map number 2 on Clubhouse, this is going to be a very defender-sided map.
5 seconds
Yes.
remaining.
SSG is going to need to keep it close if they want to put this one away as a 2-0.
Attackers are moving out.
But
Locate
The win conditions for TSM, Michael, for me, is that on Coastline, the strategy wasn't the greatest, but what was worse than the strategy was their execution on those strats and the way that they took fights. They looked scared. It looked like TSM was on the defensive that whole map.
Yeah.
That was their map. You should not look like you are worried about taking fights. There was very little confidence, very little unpredictability on their defensive roam. Their entry was often isolating, and it was just ineffective.
Yeah.
It was really not a great first start for TSM here. And their guns are going to need to be significantly better on a much more strategic map.
I agree. I think that lack of confidence in particular contributed to or fueled, depending on how you want to look at it, the kind of individual plays that we were seeing an abundance of. So we now know the cause, or we have a theory as to the cause and the symptom. Hopefully TSM have shaken that. They'll be starting on defense. And now this is really important. As Parker was mentioning, defender-sided map, TSM needs to run up the rounds here on the defensive side. They can't let too many rounds slip away from them. And since they're currently on the back foot, that puts more pressure on their shoulders. If TSM were starting on attack, they might even be in a better spot, because the rounds you lose on attack are less significant than the rounds you lose on defense in this map. We'll see, though. We're not done with anything yet. We haven't even had the first engagements yet. Just a roam clear from SSG. They have forced all of the defenders back to the site and are trying to establish some normalcy on this basement execution. No damage done there by anyone. Fultz took a little bit of damage earlier, but Geo and Merc, who are challenging this, are playing a very dangerous game and getting away with it currently.
I can't believe Fultz didn't hit a single target on that one, and he's going to try to drone himself in. He's got the attention of those 2 members of TSM playing inside of blue, and with Merc and Geo distracted, they'll need to pivot when required, as the execute is going to go down somewhere else. Geo tries to tempt Fultz, but Fultz is just, I don't know what's going on with this man. Rampy falls, but Fultz's opening pick still gives his team an advantage. Achieved low on HP, so is Geo. They will need to scramble inside a church. Nitrocell gets tossed out to try and secure Rampy, but won't be able to get to it. The only question is whether Bosco will be able to retrieve him. Big problem for Bosco is that he's opened up part of that church wall. That's going to allow both Achieved and Chala to play there. Rampy getting picked up by Canadian inside of Connector over by Moto. And now Achieved is going to lose even more of this wall. He tries to rotate. He gets cut down to size. SSG finding the scoreboard quite effectively. First kill for TSM comes into the hands of Bolo. Chala tries his best but can't do anything at all, leaving Bolo to play behind the pallets inside of Arsenal. Diffuser going down, and well, he's going to need to push up. But Bosco has the cross all the way at the end of the hallway with 2 drones in front of him for added measure. SSG finds the first round here on Clubhouse.
Well done there to Bosco holding the cross. I think Bolo actually could have gotten the angle on the planter if he had looked through the pixel, but he didn't check it before making the push. That is unfortunate. Now, that is not a guarantee, though. I'm pretty sure that is the case. TSM setup there. Nothing in particular that I have to call into being like at fault as per the outcome. I think most of that just comes down to a well-coordinated execution from SSG. And the key to that round, the reason why the church wall execution was an option for Spacestation, is just simply the Thatcher. That's it. Thatcher being in play meant that the mute jammers on the wall were not able to deny the hard destruction. Opening up the church wall completely denied playing in church. TSM now have to scramble. And since they've already struggled with holding blue, they're losing one prong to their defense after another. One angle that they can control Moto door and church wall with after another. And now they're in a corner. On top of that, not only in terms of positioning is SSG winning, not only in terms of utility, but also in the gunfights, quite simply. Spacestation were racking up the kills on that execution. And yeah, it was really late. I mean, we were in the middle of a 20-second meta round there for sure. But it didn't matter in the end because SSG ended up with enough control to start a plan.
I expect we're going to see a heavy rotation from TSM if they're not capable of winning these sites, by the way. I know that we've talked about it on a number of different broadcasts in regards to why teams decide to go to the same bomb site over and over and over again and kind of smash their head into a brick wall despite not getting the success that they want. TSM tries bomb site number 1 on round number 1, doesn't work, so they immediately flee and come up here to CCTV and cash. I don't think that's the wrong call. Continue to work through it. The likelihood of you making incremental changes and then eventually winning the round or winning that bomb site is definitely possible, but it usually take 1 or 2 tries. I would rather just keep my opponent on their toes, and I think that's the thought process here for TSM. That's a great toss from Merc, by the way. Unfortunately for him, nobody from SSG was nearby, as there was a small opening in which Merc threads the needle with the nitro cell through the top of the wall into logistics. And he falls back because he's got the safety and security of a Vulcan shield just behind him. He can play in between the 2 bomb sites. Achieved lurks down below as we hit the halfway point in round number 2.
Lots of damage done to Merc there by the Goyo shield. He's going to be on a sliver just about. Shala will land the shot onto Rampy. So the first frag of the second round, and SSG bounces back by killing Merc with his own shield. That's the second time. I think all of the damage done to Merc was via the shields. So that's unfortunate for him. But there it is. You can see Bolo's trying to deny the wall getting opened up from below, but he's got the C4, not the impacts, so he can't do it as explosively as he'd like to. Thus, the workshop wall is opened up. The angle achieved, and Bosco can now play that angle to deny the shield play in A. There's lots of time for Spacestation to continue this assault. They do not need to stop or rush. They can do anything they want right now, and currently Spacestation are setting up for picks. They haven't gotten any yet, but they are looking like they will as Canadian gets Chala, and Fultz finds himself in the site from platform. Beautiful headshot onto Geo, leaving just Bolo and Achieved. Stuns into the red hall. Plant going from Canadian. C4 used, no denial. And there's perfect coverage from the rest of SSG. The plant will be down. Post plant now. Nice push from Bolo. He does some damage, but no kill onto Canadian. A flank here from Achieved might get the Sophia. He sees the gun and lands the shot, but down goes his teammate. Now he has to find 3 kills. It won't happen. Mid-vault. Bosco will shut him down. And Spacestation take the next round.
Surgical precision on that entry. Fultz gets the call that the site is open and free and clear, and he flies on in, exploits the rotate that was created by the defense, and cash is his. The man's not stealing checks, he's writing them. Well played by SSG in the way that they pressured construction and the way that they were able to completely avoid any confrontation inside of garage as well. Bolo, after taking a beating, was forced to fall off and go back downstairs through lounge, ascend red stairs, and it killed time. Yes, Malusi's at 3-speed. Doesn't matter. Bolo still needed 5 to 10 seconds. The problem is that because of the control and construction, and because of the fact that Fultz was in the middle of the bomb site, most notably over by CCTV, Bolo could not push up red stairs without getting caught in a crossfire. He had to play the best he could, and his only real option was a nitro cell that did not connect. A lot of this really came down to how SSG were able to very quickly get the wall open and then very quickly get construction. And that's what made it work so effectively, was how swift it was. Apparently there is a rehost being called. So we'll see if that's going to happen, or at least possibly a pause.
Yeah,
I don't know if they can pause the game and then have somebody drop out and come back in. I think that's the case, but
I think you can. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to say it definitively, but I have it on good authority that you can just pause and resume from once you left off. But we'll go for a full rehost, it looks like. Those of you not actually, you guys can't see it, but
the Invisa shotgun.
Yeah. There was somebody shooting holes in a wall there with his hands. Anyway, yeah, all right. So let's then go over what we've seen so far, because that's what we've got to go on here. Okay. Thus far, you used the word surgical, I think, earlier, and I think that's an apt description of the precision we're seeing.
I did roughly 3 minutes and 12 seconds ago.
Thank you. I think that's an apt description of the precision we're seeing from Spacestation, surgical. They seem to be in their flow. Their strategies are being executed not swiftly, but well enough to end up winning those engagements against TSM. It almost looks like TSM is not on the right timing right now, because we're seeing them caught out of position a lot. Too many entries just for free going the way of SSG. And while Spacestation aren't getting these rounds for free, they have to work for it significantly, like a lot, and TSM are biting back. It's just slightly off. And I think what you were talking about at the beginning of the map, the confidence that we're seeing from TSM is just not there. I think that's a good way of highlighting what's going on here, because there's been many opportunities, for example, for TSM to go for a flank, or to retake in unison, or to back off and trust their utility. And it's almost like most of those times the wrong decision is being made by TSM. In any kind of situation where they can make a reaction to their opponent, TSM is making the worst reaction, and it's putting them in really bad spots. Aside from that, again, to be simple about it, Spacestation are winning their gunfights.
I'm a little confused, actually, because the one thing that we always sing the praises of for TSM is how they play a style of gameplay that allows players like Achieved, Bolo, and Merc as the big three. Obviously, Chala and Geo are capable of doing it as well. But how they play around those three players and force the rest of the teams onto their back foot hasn't been the case. If it's not happening on a map like Coastline was picked by TSM. It's a friendly map for TSM. It fits the mold perfectly of the style of play that TSM wants to play. If it's not happening there, Michael, when is it going to happen? Now, I think the one question that we can ask is Spacestation effectively shutting down the gunners from TSM? Or is it just that the TSM gunners aren't showing up and Spacestation is doing fine, but they're not the sole reason why TSM is quiet at the moment?
I think it's a mix of both. We can't really pin this on any one thing. You know, of course, at this level, it becomes a little bit more nuanced and a little bit less cut and dry. So for me, I'm seeing lethality from the gunners on TSM. So it can't just all be them falling asleep. And I'm equally seeing Spacestation put up an amazing line of assault here, round to round. I mean, to be blunt, Spacestation is controlling their sectors well. When they go for an execute and they open up their walls, there's always one player on every inch of the site after that wall is open from Spacestation. And the kills flow because of that. And the Keeley, I think this is the most important thing. The timing is just better for Space Station. They are not overstepping their bounds at any point. No one on Space Station is rushing themselves or their team. They are methodically and mechanically executing every round, and then TSM are falling victim to that. Their timing has not been ideal. We've seen them so many times. An anchor getting caught out, wrong time, wrong place. Unlucky though that be,
5 seconds to go.
it's a matter of positioning and a matter of timing, and it's something that TSM can improve upon. They've been trying to. I mean, look, they're doing the roam on the top floor right now. Look at this. They've seen TSM do this before. Last time they did it, though, it didn't really waste that much time. SSG were too quick to clear out these roamers. We didn't even mention it when it happened the last time because it was so fast.
I think it's also because our attention for that bomb site was heavily fixated on Fultz down in Oil Pit and the way that he was watching both Geo and Merc and Blue.
True.
This is obviously a very different approach from TSM, as they're going to hold the top floor more aggressively. It's a unique bomb site to play off of because you can have roamers on the top floor, you can have them all on the bottom floor. There is a comfortable amount of room to stick all 5 of the defenders on the bottom floor. You don't necessarily need to hold the top. And yet some teams will do that. A lot of people, I guess, affectionately refer to it as the SSG strat here on Clubhouse, as it was largely popularized by Space Station when Mutant Mozzie were very much in the meta. Merc picks off Fultz, and that's down on Blue. Fultz had been a central figure here, and now down goes Bosco as well. Geo, okay. You turn and pick up 2 and then drop off. ThinkingNade finds the only kill for Space Station so far. This is what TSM needed desperately. 90 seconds burned off of the clock. All they've sacrificed is achieved so far. Lots of utility removed from SSG's lineup, and they are outnumbered right now. It's a 2v4 for SSG for the remainder of this round, and the best opportunity for TSM to take a round here on Clubhouse has presented itself.
I love the way that Geo just stood his ground and took that fight. That really is the perfect solution to the problem we've been seeing from TSM so far. If you're having trouble on the site hold, if you cannot get your timing right when SSG sets up for the execution, take the fight elsewhere. And yeah, that easily could have swung the other way. Space Station could have won that, but they didn't. The risk taken is rewarded. Well done to Geo. Yeah, they lost, achieved in the process, but that is a absolutely killing blow. We'll see ThinkingNade and Rampy go for an Arsenal execution in through the pulse wall. Rampy gets 1 on the entry, but down goes his teammate, and Merc cleans up for the 2nd kill. That's 3 for him in the round, I believe, and TSM will get their very first.
This is honestly what they need. That was probably one of the best rounds we've seen from Merc, with the exception of the lone round he and Bolo worked together on Coastline. Merc has been very, very quiet today. That cannot happen. Everybody loves to tout Bolo's performance on LAN. I think that's a given that he's going to play well regardless, but the rest of the team needs to show up. It cannot just be the Bolo show, despite what the viewership and chat might think, Michael. There is more to TSM than just Bolo.
There is?
Yes, there is Bolo and then Bolo teammate 1 through 4.
I've heard about those. I have.
Yes.
I hear they're pretty good. They're not. I hear they're not as good as Bolo, but yeah, I hear they're pretty good.
Bolo is outstanding on LAN, and I would go so far as to say that Bolo is probably one of the best players on LAN over the last year or so. And he shows up, and when he does, his team always does well. If you have somebody like Bolo capable of playing the way that he does, your team is almost always going to be in competition. The problem is that just competing isn't what TSM wants. TSM wants to win, and with the exception of DreamHack Montreal, this TSM roster has come up frustratingly empty-handed, but still frustratingly close in so many different events.
10 seconds left.
Yeah,
the rest of this TSM team needs to wake up. Merc's round, that round in particular, he gets a 3K. Obviously, the stats are reset, so you can't get a full scope of how well he's doing. But that was a big round from Merc, and it was largely just him working on his own. Obviously, SSG realized, they made the calculations, we need to push into the back of the bomb site, try to take control, and then hold those angles. And it's a strong spot to be in, playing off of that position, but TSM answered beautifully. They swung 2 players at the same time, and they ended up winning out on the gunfights. And just more engagements like that, breaking in TSM's favor, TSM landing their shots, understanding how to play off of SSG's positioning, and then these rounds are going to start to tighten up. keep in mind, TSM is on the favorable side of Clubhouse right now. They really shouldn't be in a situation where they're trailing, even though they didn't pick this map. They should still be doing enough to stay in contention. And right now they are. We'll see what happens for this round, though, is that they're back to cash and CCTV. Wall gets opened up out on the balcony with Fultz watching it. SSG were swift to be able to take control of this bomb site before. Will history repeat itself?
TSM have done the same setup here, but there's a few small differences. The key thing that I want to take a note of is the way that TSM is setting up their workshop reinforcements. Normally, the logistics wall and the workshop single wall are not reinforced. The reason they're reinforced here is because TSM is trying to facilitate a prolonged and extended roam from Bolo over by Master. Now that the single wall has been opened up, Bolo is committed to his role. He will either kill or die at this position. His likelihood of rotating back to the site is slim, though there is a chance if he catches the person holding his rotation in an engagement and wins that fight. It'll be a difficult prospect for Bolo, but he is the type of player to perform those and get away with them. We'll see if he can pull it off here. Right now, TSM is focusing on delay and persistence. They want their players to stay up, they want the clock to run down, and they're not worried about much else. SSG, on the other hand, are going for a garage execution, which is a little bit of a different execution from what we've seen from in the past. Last time, Spacestation went for a workshop execution. This time, though, the garage execute is working. Down goes the garage player from TSM. That's Geo. With that player done away with, TSM is now in a really bad spot because Spacestation can use garage to confront the anchors directly, and there's nobody playing downstairs right now for TSM. They'll need to change that if they want to have any success in this round.
Still trying to determine if garage is fully clear or not. Despite Rampy being in there, they'll drone down below. Smoke had met smoke earlier on as Bosco had tossed out one of his smoke grenades, answered back by the toxic gas of Chala. 20 seconds remaining for Chala to toss out the last toxic canister, and Merc also has a nitro cell ready. If SSG don't understand this, they will be running headfirst into a brick wall. Canadian attempting the plant. Where is the denial? There it is. Doesn't do enough damage. You'll have to get a smoke to go down, but they all miss. Nitro Cell finally gets it, but the diffuser goes down anyway. So now it's a scramble to try and retake the site for TSM. SSG have everything lined up, and they find 3 kills, 4 kills. Rampy in particular. Make that 5? No, Merc says not today, not yet at least. He's got a lot of work to do, though, and he won't be able to do any of it. Bosco seals the deal, and SSG takes their 3rd round through 5 here on Clubhouse.
Most of that comes down to the fact that Canadian was allowed to get the plant down. You could see the smiles on SSG's faces. They know that they're winning this map strategically, and that much is being proven on the scoreboard.
Also, I was wrong. It's 3 rounds and 4. I was writing on the line below mine.
It's okay. You're gonna have those. They're gonna happen. We'll give you a free pass for now. I will stamp the ticket.
Thanks.
Here you are, Parker.
Thank you.
So anyway, what was I saying? Canadian got the plant down. That's key. The C4, the first one, it went wide. Now, I assume this is because TSM doesn't expect a default plant. And I rightfully so. It's very uncommon for somebody to try and plant default when there's an obviously C4 in play and obviously still gas canisters in play. Why would you plant there? 20 seconds remaining? Plenty of denial in the defense? That makes no sense. But I'm sure that is exactly why Canadian planted default corner, because he knew it wouldn't make any sense in this situation. They're not going to throw their first C4 here. That's some that is some gigabrain stuff right there from Canadian. So, well played to him.
10 seconds to go.
We'll see if SSG can continue that with their well-executed strategies. They are looking very strong right now.
They do look significantly more prepared for this map, which is what we come to understand. SSG actually got to the point where they started banning this map because they knew that there were teams that were prepared for it. And it certainly seems like, whether it's just that TSM are not the strongest Clubhouse team at the moment, or that SSG kind of took this map out of rotation and said, let's workshop it. Let's go back and let's tinker away and then bring it back when we're ready. I don't know if that was the strategy behind it, but it's very apparent in this matchup so far. SSG being on attack against a team like TSM. One of the best teams in the world, one of the best teams in the region, And right now, SSG, through these 4 rounds, now 5, now I can say 5 round.
Yay.
To a certain extent, TSM has looked like mincemeat. They didn't look very strong on Coastline. I do somewhat agree with Jesse. The first half of Coastline was pretty even, but SSG definitely had the advantage. Jesse said that it very easily could have been a 7-0. I can see some reasoning behind that. I don't fully agree with it, but SSG was in control of that map. They are doing the same thing here. The worrisome part for TSM is that they have another match if they lose against SSG against Dark Zero lined up. They won't have much downtime. DZ are right now sitting, warming up. They are waiting the loser of this series. DZ obviously wants it to go on as long as possible because then you get tired out. Fatigue sets in. But if this TSM doesn't have time to bounce back, this is very, very bad against Dark Zero. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There is still a match to be played. Bolo gets taken down as the very first opening pick comes from SSG. Yet again, SSG has been exceptionally good on the opening duels so far in this series.
It's Fultz to get it. The man, the myth, the legend. He performed amazingly well on map number 1. And here on map number 2, he's also having a great performance. Keep in mind, the scoreboard has reset, so we don't have the full stats. And Fultz probably has more than 1 kill. Rampy will get 1 for himself. There you go. That's his 4th in 2 rounds. A nade from below. And now, TSM very much on the back foot here. Lots of time for SSG to continue their execution, and it gets better for them as they eliminate Chala. Merc will lose his tussle with Bosco, leaving just Geo in a 1v5. It's just not gonna happen. A flawless round for Space Station. They pick apart TSM 1 player at a time.
Merc's engagement, 23 damage done to Bosco.
It's rough.
You saw that not only was it a flawless round, Michael, it was a flawless round with minimal damage being done to SSG. That might have been the worst round from TSM that we have seen from them in this matchup so far.
I would agree with that.
Now, I know that the TSM fans are going to grow tired of us currently slagging off on how TSM is performing.
Can't avoid it.
I'm sorry if you feel that way. Maybe TSM should be playing a little bit better so we can use more appropriately hype language. But right now, through these 2 maps, there really isn't that much to look at what TSM has done and say, great job. This has been one of the worst series for TSM that I've remembered watching, period, in the last couple months. And you can't even necessarily give all that credit to SSG. This is not a situation where SSG is just playing better. Yes, we have given a lot of praise to SSG on how they're able to enter, how they are playing their utility and gadgets, how they are structured as a team. I don't think you can take anything away from the way that Rampy and Fultz are playing right now and how they're being enabled by this squad to just kill everything. But as much as we want to sing the praises of Space Station, we have to wag our finger at the way that TSM is playing because this is not what they are capable of. TSM is indisputably better than what they've done so far in this match.
You know, the way that I see this right now is it looks like SSG is well aware of what to expect from their opponent, and they're just not letting TSM trip over themselves. That's how I would describe it. It's not an unavoidable, or it's not an unfixable problem here for TSM. They could certainly correct course right now, but you have to keep in mind, they've lost 4 defenses on Clubhouse. And I know that Thatcher is still in play, but no matter how you look at that, it's still very problematic. If TSM cannot salvage this round, then we'd have to have a pretty incredible Clubhouse for this to be a TSM comeback. And I just don't see it happening as it stands. I hope to be proven incorrect, though, because Space Station already took map number 1, and I want to see a map number 3. This series has the potential to be a pretty incredible one, but we just haven't gotten to see that yet.
Villa is also a good map historically for TSM as well. So if Villa is required, I mean, obviously this is a good map for both teams. It was really close yesterday when SSG played against DZ on it. SSG managed to muscle out a victory. Despite trailing for the vast majority of that map, they still ended up winning it. and what a lot of people referred to as a choke for Dark Zero, but I wouldn't necessarily use that kind of language. I would say that it was just a closely drawn contest where sides matter a lot. And sides do tend to matter on these maps. You know, we can get ahead of ourselves, and the novice viewer might watch this and think, wow, this matchup's over. Well, no, not necessarily. If the defenders usually win 4-2, then that means that TSM still has 4 more rounds to win. They just need to wait for the side swap. The problem is that TSM is starting on the side where you are usually expected to win no fewer than 3 rounds. TSM's not going to hit that mark. At best, they can salvage a second round here. If not, SSG puts themselves in an even more comfortable position, walking away with a 5-1-1/2 on attack on Clubhouse. That is almost always a death sentence for your opponents.
Here come the stuns and the nades and the execution to follow. The drop works out for Canadian. He is amazingly not killed on that drop. The C4 will likely get him. There it is. Merc stops him cold on the plant. Only 10 seconds left. Bosco will retrieve the diffuser. Second C4 possibly. It looks like the gas canisters turn, but it's not going to matter. Great coverage from Space Station, but no plant in the 1v1. Bolo just needs to live, and he'll do just that. TSM salvage another round from the first half, ending it 4-2. Still favor Space Station.
Bosco was on the very final tick of that diffuser when he got felled by the smoke tossed out by Chala. TSM win that one by the skin of their teeth. That is not a convincing round win. So you now stumble into the second half, and TSM can pat themselves on the back with that one. SSG went for a very routine kitchen take. You open the hatch, you drop down, you have 2 people playing those angles, you have 1 person playing blue. You have a lot of power and control over the bomb site, because if somebody tries to rotate out of church, the openings that they've created that lead to the double door from church being watched from the hatch above. If somebody's playing inside a dirt tunnel, you have that control from the hatch above. Ditto if somebody's playing by dummy or by AK in the back, you have that control because of the hatch above. And you're tucked into the corner where Canadian was planting, where the only things that typically stop a plant there are, number 1, smokes. The gas canisters that are tossed out by smoke, that's your greatest adversary. Number 2, a well-placed nitro cell, especially if you're playing by boxes at the back. Or number 3, if you're low numbers and you don't have that hatch control, somebody swinging onto you, possibly with a shotgun from inside a dirt tunnel. Now, SSG's cover above was fine. It was good. Everybody from TSM that decided to pop up, well, they got gunned down. And even though the beginning of the execute tilted in TSM's favor, it was the fact that TSM couldn't fight back against the hatch control from Space Station that evened the odds. As I said, it came down to a nanosecond. Bosco very narrowly got that diffuser down. If Bosco gets that diffuser down and then dies to the toxic gas, you still had ThinkingNade above. To watch the hatches, he needs to just play time and time alone. And Bolo, who's playing over by the main stairs, has 2 options. Either try to engage from below or retake. And Bolo's a talented player. It could have very easily still broken in favor of TSM, and I still think they probably would have prevailed in that situation. But that's way too close for comfort. And it's definitely not a motivation boost, knowing that you now have to go on to attack for the remainder of this match.
Roam upstairs for SSG. Merc to confront it. Merc to confront it on the ace. Interesting. Well, there are other hard breachers. Well, a other hard breacher. You've got your thermite here, but that's still unusual. He's going to be droning himself in too, but that's caught by a Mozzie pest. ThinkingNade still unknown inside of Jim, and he will do a significant amount of damage to Achieved and finish him with the C4 because Achieved just got on drone. Rampy gets Chala as well, but refrag from Merc at least to entries into the bathroom. He's now got control in the bathroom itself, and we'll extend that into the hallway. You can see that SSG is aware they don't need to take any future fights. They still have the man advantage. We're going to leave. So Space Station have taken 2 minutes off the clock. Chala and Achieved, both of the SAS attackers. And now Space Station will wait out the clock, safe and sound in their sight. This also means that because Chala is dead, any wall with the mute jammer on it will not be opened up. And you could see that ThinkingNade, he doesn't have any. The question is, has he placed them on the church wall? That might actually be significant in the outcome of this round. It seems like no. That actually could change things, as could that kill. Merc getting Canadian is a great bounce back for TSM, and the wall is openable given there's no mute jammers on it.
It looked like Canadian was trying to fight there and not necessarily peeking. He looks at the hatch and, well, his check doesn't work out. A 7th kill for Merc, who has really shown his stuff so far here on Clubhouse despite his team trailing. 30 seconds remaining, and, well, they're going to have to hit the hatches as quickly as they can. This is going to be troubling for TSM. They instead opt for just taking Church Wall. There goes the first Selma. 20 seconds remaining in the round for these to go off. Will they be impact tricked successfully? That's the question. Down goes Fultz. Merc is great, but ThinkingNade has his shotgun out. One is prepared and ready. He finds another, turns around, 3 kills, looking for a 4th. He'll get it. Line him up, knock him down. ThinkingNade wins the round for his team. Upstairs, downstairs, it doesn't matter what part of the map. It's all his. A 5th round on the board as Spacestation now tantalizingly close to 2-0ing TSM.
ThinkingNade, the man closest on the cam with the wonderful hair. Beautiful round from him. And Spacestation, they are so tantalizingly close, as you mentioned, Parker. This could, you know, remember when Jesse said it could have easily been a 7-0? I do think that for this map. While I agree with you, maybe you could contest that assertion for earlier map. This one here and now, Spacestation are looking pretty darn dominant. I will say, however, that round was the best we've seen from TSM on this map, and that is including the rounds that they have won. Merc with a great entry on the top floor with the roam clear. The hard destruction worked out well enough. It looked like things were going to go TSM's way. Merc even got a kill through a wall. Wall banged them. Well done to Merc. I thought TSM had it, but ThinkingNade is just better in that instance. And when you are a team like Spacestation who has the structure, who has the cohesion, the synergy is working out, and you're landing your shots, and then on top of all of that, the rounds where your opponent are doing well, you have an individual like ThinkingNade stand apart from the rest of the pack and put up performances like that. It's going to be really hard to beat that. Spacestation are in stride. TSM, great round there, but still they lose it. Heartbreaker.
Yeah, it's absolutely demotivating for TSM, and well, they've really struggled to find it. They really, really have. On Coastline, they have not been able to kick it into high gear, and now on Clubhouse, well, they're just trying to roll a ball uphill. Things are not working out the way they want, and they're going to need to recover ASAP because SSG are but 2 rounds away. That's it. And even if they do the same thing that we saw out of TSM for the remainder of their defense, 2 more rounds, that's good enough for SSG to put this one away, even if TSM wins 3. So a cash CCTV take for TSM is next in line. They'll take over from the west side of the building, which is over by Jim and Master. Fultz down below, he's got the hatch open so he can watch the wall into construction. Now, if you look at the hard breachers that are being brought from TSM, it's very likely that with the hatch being there and the wall being shot open, that if there's any hard destruction that does get used or put in that area, that he's going to be able to stop it. But the play from SSG seems to be that they're more concerned with the logistics wall rather than the construction wall. In fact, the construction wall has been shot open, giving Merc a great line of sight into cash. Ramby's going to be playing off this angle with a 1.5 to try and match the long-range optic that we see out of Merc. But Merc's positioning is going to be really important, not just because of where he is, but because of the fact that he's the top frag on the team, and he's playing a really crucial operator in Ace.
It's interesting that Fultz is trying to tease this flank. Very dangerous. There is somebody on the flank drone. TSM is well aware of this. They heard the footsteps, and they'll be trying to encroach on Fultz. But I think Fultz hears that, and he gets the heck out of dodge. Great call there from Fultz. He will persist and likely aid his team later in the execution. Hard breach going out here. Impact tricking to deny. The nades over to deny the impact tricking, but the impact tricking will persist. Rampy can dodge the nades thanks to the corner there on the doorway, and he has just successfully held on to the logistics wall. Great
Merc
kill.
gets the very first kill to start things off with here. Michael onto Rampy as the Legion tries to survive. Both Merc and Geo have been chewed up and spit out, but they're still very okay, and they've still got a gun in their hands, and that's all that matters. Canadians got a surplus of munition, but it's not going to be any good. Merca's been down, so Geo will fire back from the construction doorway. TSM are all pushing from roughly the same angle, and there's going to be toxic canisters raining on down. Chala's in, damage being done from Bosco. He's patrolling the area. He needs to play keep away, and he knows it. He takes out the Zofia, and Marks are coming in with the SMG in hand. All he needs to do is live. Plant going down. Bosco tries to clutch, but they peel off, and it's match point for SSG.
Beautiful moment of denial there. The Legion trap made it so Thermite couldn't plant immediately. And it's possible they won just on that Legion trap. But it could have also been the Jaeger at the top of red stairs denying Thermite the plant at the last second. I think it was the Legion trap, though. I'm sure we'll hear about that round in future talks about what happened in this match. But speaking of, match point now, Space Station. And not only match point, but series point. Once again, just as with the previous round, TSM looking good. They get the entries. They're racking up the kills. Oh boy, this is it. They go for the plant and stopped. Well done to Chala. He had a huge round there. Did great work denying the push into the site and distracting all of the attackers. Or not to Chala, pardon me. Excuse me. Well done to Space Station, the smoke holding on there. I think it was... I want to say it was false. Did you catch who that was, Parker?
The smoke was Bosco in his typical spot on the rafters of Garage where he doesn't need to run a shotgun, so he runs the FMG and the SMG-11.
That's why I'm confused. Thank you. So, well done to Bosco. He was the hero of that round, no matter how you shake it down. There was still a Jaeger in play coming up from the red staircase, and it's likely even if the Legion trap hadn't stopped the plant, that he would have. That's key because Bosco was distracting on the rafters. He held on to that distraction for the majority of the execution, say 40, 50 seconds. He was trying to keep locked down, and he did just that.
Well, now SSG gets forced on since they've won the two sites previously. They get forced on to the least palatable, if we can call it that, which is Gym Master. There was an attempt here, just a single attempt by TSM. They did not go back to it after they lost. A flawless round, by the way, for Space Station on that one. This does tend to provide more avenues for the defenders to exert power with their gadgets onto where the defenders are sitting. The attackers can open up the wall onto Jacuzzi, which just got opened in the top left of your screen. And their next step is usually to pressure the bathroom where ThinkingNade is going to play. Why is ThinkingNade playing in there? Well, not only is it a good strategic spot for a Maestro, as he can just gun down people trying to push from construction, but he also has access to Impact Grenade. And if one of those walls remains soft, he can impact any of the hard destruction that gets put on the wall next to him. Construction has also been opened up by the exothermic charge from Geo, so now he's used both of his gadgets on the Jacuzzi wall, construction wall, and Canadian seems to be quite committed to that construction hold as he just set down a deployable shield. Merkel on his own, as two separate members of TSM are now lined up. Grenade goes to get dropped on in, waiting for it to get tossed. Will ThinkingNade be the victim of an explosive end? No. Fate is on his side right now, as achieved since the lobby was remade, is still searching for his first kill. He's got one grenade remaining for later in the round.
Still plenty of time for Achieve to get his first kill, assuming TSM can start racking up some rounds. SSG continue to wait. They don't need to do anything else. This is I talked about this in map number 1, and I'm going to reiterate it here. Space Station have read into the fact that if TSM are allowed to set up, it doesn't seem to matter that much. TSM's executions just aren't proving to be that lethal. And that is why TSM is playing this patience game, because they know it'll get them the win in the end. Impact tricking misses, that's crucial. They might be able to land the second, but there's still plenty of Selmas where that came from. And with the second impact used, the rest of the wall will be opened up. Nade goes over. ThinkingNade is already repositioned. He wasted a lot of time. Only 30 seconds left for TSM to execute.
This is great for the way that ThinkingNade played it. He's got that weight in front of him that he can just simply hold off on. Rampy down below, well, he'll punish Bolo. Achieve takes some damage too, and ThinkingNade will just need to watch multiple angles. He's not going to give his position away. Watching and fighting a Phantom Force. One for ThinkingNade as there goes to jump in. 2 for him, 3 for him. ThinkingNade has been absolutely inhuman so far, and Bosco will seal the deal. An even more decisive map number 2, and it's a quick one for Space Station. They're in the grand finals tomorrow.
Well done to Space Station. A 2-0 and a confident one at that. It's not really any kind of result you can question, no matter how staunchly you support your team. ThinkingNade in particular on that last map